Rise and grind, folks. We got another steamer to go to. I am on the way to another heat maintenance. This is an existing maintenance customer. This customer has a steam boiler. I think we replaced the pressure troll in the pigtail here, if not last year. This had to have been at least 2 years ago. We're just out here for the heat maintenance. Let's go saddle the horses, guys, and let's rock and roll. I'll see y'all when I get inside. All right, guys. This is another Crown, probably 138,000 BTU. Yep. And as you can see, let me turn the light on so y'all can see. That's what we did last time we came out. I looked at the notes. This was last year. This was a no heat call. This unit was off on pressure troll, but it was so close to the boiler, it actually snapped off when we tried to remove it. So we replaced the pressure troll, the pigtail, and we put an extension nipple coming out the boiler. So we made it do what it do there. But guys, I just turned it on to make sure it works. Everything's firing up, but we're gonna clean the burners. So let's get started. I'll see y'all in a little bit. All right, guys, I got my burners out. And what do we have? 1, 2, 3. This is about 7 burners. And the one on my far right is in need of some TLC. But first things first, I'm gonna sweep all that debris from underneath the bottom of the burners. And I'm gonna clean all these burners off. Worst case, if I can't clean this up to satisfaction, this burner is certainly gonna have to get replaced. Now, I mentioned this in previous videos. You wanna pull and inspect all your burners, but on the occasion that your burner looks like this, just to show you the contrast here. This is how it's supposed to look. And yeah, see this? This is all wear and tear. Now, nothing's wet, so I don't think that this boiler's leaking water. I just think this is just wear and tear, but I'm gonna try to clean this off and open up as many slots as I can. Worst case, if I can't open up the slots because it's corroded and falling apart, we're gonna recommend replacing this burner. But beforehand, let me clean all the scale and dust and dirt from underneath this boiler here. Let me get that going and I'll be right back. I'll see you in a little bit. How's this for a night and day difference? Definitely looks like a better burner. Not a new burner, but guys, most importantly, I just want to make sure that you see the top grills here on the top of this burner. You want to make sure that everything's open. Now guys, what I mentioned before, on previous videos, let's say if this burner was on and you had flames coming out of here, guys, if the burner, and you can't avoid this, but with wear and tear, if this burner gets corroded over and starts to rust, this could cause sporadic flames. So instead of the flames going out, your flames could go left and right. And like I said, guys, eventually this could cause the unit to go off on rollout. I've seen that a bunch of times. So guys, there's nothing but bad things that can happen to burners if you don't clean them over time, especially if the slots on the top of the burner corrodes and fills up with crud and rust and scale. So like I said, guys, this is definitely a good before and after thing you want to show a customer, because most customers won't know about what a burner is until something breaks down or if they have, like I said, some type of issue. All right, guys. Next thing I'm going to do, and I got everything cleaned up here. What I'm gonna do is put my burners back in. I did flush this boiler last time I was out here, and I cleaned the sight glass. And just like the call I was on last week, both of these boilers are identical. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flush this boiler again. Even though the sight glass water is clean, that doesn't give me an indication of how clean the water is in a return line. So I'm gonna get my bucket, I'm gonna drain that down, get that done. And I'm also gonna test my safeties and take out my pigtail and clean that. And like I said, pigtails, guys, you definitely don't want to overlook taking out the pigtail and running some water by the pigtail, because what can happen over time, crud and buildup can get inside that pigtail, and if that happens, your pressure control won't be able to accurately sense pressure in the bowler, and that could open up and now cause the heat not to work. So stay on top of keeping the pigtails clean, and you can't go wrong. But all right, guys, let me put the burners back in and let's get the show on the road. I'll be back. All right, guys, I got my burners back in. As you see here, this is my flame rollout. On these steam boilers, they also have a block vent switch, which is manual reset. Manual reset means that if a safety trips, you have to manually push it in. It's not going to auto reset. With this rollout switch, there's no reset. Typically, if these rollout switches open up, you got to replace it, because once this link opens up from higher than normal temperatures, then that means the rollout switch is no good and you'll have to replace it. So it's cool to understand safeties and know how they work. But guys, another thing I mentioned in previous videos, the vent pipe for the steam boiler is not going into the chimney. Guys, I actually don't know where the chimney is, but they actually have a vent damper kit here. And this is the driveway, which is what I'm showing you here. They actually have a vent damper kit, and I'm going to show you by turning this on. And that's the relay there. As soon as the call for heat initiates, the vent damper turns on, which is very cool. Guys, vent dampers are very useful on 80% applications in which you can't hear it. And 80% applications in which you can't run the vent piping over to the chimney. Maybe the boiler is too far away or what have you, but this is still cool. I know at least 3 different customers that have this set up, but it's pretty simple. Just a motor, relay, and some controls, but this thing is wired to your thermostat, so this vent damper will always turn on before the boiler. And you have a biometric damper here, which is rocking and rolling. So now, since I got this turned on, I'm gonna test my rollout. Cool. Rollout is still functional. Cool. Alright, guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drain this boiler down. Let me turn this off. I'm gonna drain this boiler down, clean the sight glass, and fill it back up. But before I fill it back up, I'm just gonna clean the pigtail. I really don't expect much to be in that pigtail since we just did this last year, but nonetheless, we still want to take it off and check it. I'm going to do that. Let me drain this down. I'll be back. Guys, it wasn't much of a show. I just filled it up a little bit, but it wasn't much in my return. I back flushed it. I filled it up like 2 or 3 times. Only like a small amount came out. Guys, I flushed this boiler down a lot last year because there was a bunch of gunk inside the old pressure control and pigtail. But it seems like what I did last year is still holding up, which is great. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screw back on my pressure control, and I'm gonna get this boiler to at least 3/4 full, and we're gonna start this up. Everything is rocking and rolling. And guys, one thing I didn't mention, here we go right here, is the steam pressure gauge. You see here? On the steam boiler, the pressure should always be 0. Unlike a hot water boiler, and I mentioned a hot water boiler typically 12 to 15 PSI, and sometimes up to 18. It depends on if you got a 3 or 4 level house, if you have to raise the water level. Hot water is way different than steam. Guys, remember with steam doesn't rely on water pressure, it relies on steam pressure. But if you have too much steam pressure in this boiler, that can be very dangerous. That's where your pigtail and your pressure control comes into play. But I never seen a steam boiler operate above 0 psi. If the steam pressure goes up, then your pressure control should turn off the burners to allow the pressure to go down. But if this happens too frequently, then that will lead me to believe that this pigtail is clogged up and it's not allowing the pressure control to accurately sense pressure in the boiler. And if that's a scenario, I'll flush everything down, make sure you don't have any gunk in the boiler, check and or clean the pigtail, and that will let you know the next steps from there. But guys, what I'm going to do, let me screw this pressure control back on, and going to look at the other side of this boiler and make sure we don't have any leaks or anything like that. And also I'm going to inspect the water heater while I'm here as well. But let me put this back together. I'll be right back. Guys, another thing that I don't see, maybe there used to be one on here years prior, but there's no bypass on this water feeder. Now you see here, this automatic water feeder works in tandem with your low water cutoff. And this is only a matter of time before this happens, but with the steam boiler boiling off the water in the boiler, this will naturally lower the water levels. And if it gets too low, your low water cutoff is going to turn on. But what's wired in series with your low water cutoff is your automatic water feeder. So whenever the indication light turns on that it's low on water, this automatically fills the boiler up, which is great. But however, if this automatic water feeder ever does go bad, there is a manual button on that auto water feeder, which is great. But guys, technology, anything with electricity could fail. If this control actually fails and you can't push that button, unfortunately there will not be a way you can, well, unless you back flush it, which would be pretty extreme. But typically you want to have a bypass around the water feeder in the event that that automatic water feeder totally craps out and no buttons are useful. A bypass allows you to still manually add water to the boiler in the event of this happening. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was one on here before based on the ball valve here, but it looks like they might have took this out when they replaced the old water feeder and put this one in. But you see something different every day, that's for sure. But all right, guys, what I'm gonna do is I gotta turn the power on, and I gotta get this water level way higher. Right now it's only about like at a quarter full. I gotta get this thing to at least 3/4 full. But let me do that and I will be right back. All right, guys, I disconnected my rollout. I didn't want my burners to turn on. What you guys are hearing is just my vent kit. But I filled my sight glass up. Now I'm gonna plug in my rollout. All right, guys, that's all she wrote. My burners are fired up right now. Right now, I'm just gonna wait for the pipes to heat up. And this water heater is actually a little under 10 years old. This thing's about like 7 or 8 years old. Everything's good there. And you see the oil tank. Looks like at some point they converted from oil to gas. But I'm gonna wait for the pipes to heat up. I gotta do my paperwork and I gotta head to the next one. But there you have it. Another steam boiler maintenance. Everything's rocking and rolling. There you have it. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.